Welcome everyone to the CK-12 Certified Educator Program. We're so excited to have you all here for today's session called Introduction to CK-12. We're coming to you live from the CK-12 offices in Palo Alto, California, in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm Lindsay, a member of the CK-12 team.
And I'm Katie, also a member of the CK-12 team. We're so excited that you're joining us today for our summer programming. As most of you know, this new CK-12 Certified Educator Program offers 32 sessions over 4 weeks. We've designed this program specifically for you, the teachers, administrators, curriculum developers, and others who want to join us and use CK-12's quality content.
Great. Katie, before we dive into the details of the program and the rest of today's content, I want to make sure everybody knows how to use the Zoom webinar platform. So when you all register for a CK-12 webinar, you receive a registration confirmation from Zoom that has a unique link specifically for you.
Now you can join a webinar session with that unique link from a desktop computer, a tablet, and even a mobile device, which I'm sure you guys have all figured out as you're here today. You'll receive an email reminder from us 24 hours ahead of your scheduled webinar, as well as 1 hour before the webinar begins. When it's about time, click the link and join the session. Once you are a viewer, you should see 2 different options on your screen, one for Q&A and one for chat.
And those of you who have been on our webinars before, you're probably getting used to this process of, I want to explain how we use these 2 windows. The Q&A window is where we'd like you to put any questions you have for our panelists or special guests that you want to make sure we answer during the webinar. That's the best place for us to organize them and make sure that they get addressed. The chat window, I'm not sure there's much activity in there yet, but the chat window is where we would love for you to introduce yourself, to tell us, where you're located, what you teach, subjects, grades. It's a great place for you guys to have a conversation while we're going through this webinar. The trick is that, do you see where it says to? By default, it puts it to all panelists, which is unfortunate because I think usually in the chat window, you guys are trying to talk to everybody. So if you are introducing yourself and having a conversation, make sure to change that to say all panelists and attendees. That way everybody can see it. If you accidentally send it to all panelists, those of us here in the room are the only folks who are going to see your message.
Also, while we don't anticipate any technical issues during our broadcast, if you are having trouble with your video or your sound, please let us know in either the Q&A or the chat window, and we'll do our best to help you resolve the issues. Now that you're comfortable with Zoom, let's get started with today's core content. So today's session is really the foundation for the CK-12 Certified Educator Program, and our goal today is to get you started. During today's webinar, which is scheduled to last about an hour, we're going to give you all of the details about the CK-12 Certified Educator Program, including what you can expect and how to complete certification. We'll then go into a brief overview of CK-12, including who we are, where we started, and how we personalize learning. A lot of people know us for our free digital textbooks, but over the years, we've become so much more than that with our concept-based learning, interactives, and adaptive practice. So we'll go into what concept-based learning means for us. And finally, we'll make sure all of you are signed up and signed in on our site, and we'll give you a quick tutorial to navigate with ease, including an overview of our newest features just launched in the past few months, so even veteran CK-12 users will see something new.
Okay, so what are the requirements and what does it actually mean to become a CK-12 certified educator? Well, the first basic requirement is that successful completion of the program means registering for and attending a series of 7 sessions this summer. Of those 7 sessions, 2 are mandatory. This one that you're in, Introduction to CK-12, and a culminating session called Maximizing Learning with CK-12. We kind of set it up with the idea that you would start your summer with Intro to CK-12 and end it with Maximizing Learning, but we know that the way you guys have scheduled it, that might not always work out, and that's okay. We're happy that you're joining us today. So to help you structure your sessions, we did establish a few training pathways for you to consider when registering.
The first pathway is what we call the content pathway. In this pathway, we cover concept-based modalities and our customizable flexbooks. Whether you're in an adoption cycle and considering going with CK-12 resources, or you're already using flexbooks but looking to go beyond existing books to customize content, this pathway is for you. We're here to help with editing, from basics to embedding practice and using the math editor, and we'll share examples of teaching strategies and how others are using CK-12 in their classes.
So the next pathway is what we call the intelligent pathway, and this includes sessions on practice, groups, and seeing student progress. So the main difference between this pathway and the content pathway is that here there's less of a focus on flexbooks and more of a focus on our adaptive practice and intelligence system. This is great for those of you who already customize flexbooks and want to better incorporate assignments in your class, either using CK-12 groups or integrated learning management systems.
The last pathway gives you the option to build your own learning schedule for this summer. This allows you to take multiple 101 classes to get an overview of CK-12 resources, or advanced editing and customizing practice to learn more about specific features. Plus, you can take more than the required 7 sessions and maybe even join us for all of them.
Yeah, so just to be clear, we set up these pathways to help frame your thinking as you guys were registering of, were you working on building content, or were you really interested in more of the interactive experience with our adaptive practice system? But it doesn't matter for us which pathway you were on. If you built your own experience or if you chose the content or intelligence, doesn't matter for us. We're just happy that you're signing up for sessions. And our certification at the end of the program, if you become a CK-12 certified educator, it's not a badge specific to your pathway. So just one badge this summer. The most important thing, like this bullet says here, is that you're mastering comprehensive skills for customizing and delivering content. Additionally, we're doing this at no cost to you and letting you do this on your own schedule. So we hope that you're going to advertise your certified educator status with your professional networks, on your web pages, through your social media. So at the end of this, we'll have a shiny new badge for you to make this statement. In the program, keep an eye out in the next couple of weeks for taking this one step further. We are going to take those of you completing the program, and we're going to have some sessions called Becoming a Champion for CK-12. These 2 extra optional sessions that we'll send out information about later on. It's going to be about becoming certified. It's going to be about giving you tools to be even more involved with CK-12 and helping others at your school, in your district, understand what it means to truly be a CK-12 certified educator.
Yeah, so we're excited that we are going to get this whole group of you that know about CK-12 and can continue to share it with others. And then from your side, I think one of the biggest benefits of participating in this is joining other educators from around the world. And I know it sounds like some of you guys are having trouble getting the all panelists to switch to all panelists and attendees. We apologize that glitch isn't working right now. But definitely, introduce yourself there. And if you want to introduce yourself, you can always introduce yourself on the forum, which we'll talk about shortly. So, just hold on to that, and we can continue to build that community as we work our way forward. As of this morning, we have over 1,000 users signed up for the program from over 55 countries, and this number continues to grow. We're hoping that in addition to learning more about CK-12, this program will also connect you with the greater professional learning community and network of educators in your geographic or subject area.
So to help foster this growing community, we have several things set up for you. The first is our CK-12 Cafe, which is a great place for teachers and students to get help and have discussions. I would encourage all of you to join the General Jumpstart for Educators Cafe. When you get on here, you're going to see that we have hundreds of threads, people introducing themselves, talking about where they're from and what they're working on this summer. You can also ask any questions you have about CK-12 or the Certified Educator program here.
We also have office hours specifically for these summer sessions. Individuals or groups of teachers can sign up for a 30-minute session with CK-12 team members. To do so, go to our ck12.org/certified2017 page, choose a time slot, and sign up. You'll receive a confirmation email, and we'll follow up with details for joining us for that window. During office hours, you can get specific questions answered about CK-12, just like in our webinars, or you can tell us more about your school or district, and we can talk about suggestions and best practices for you. It's very informal. We're just here to help.
So just to quickly recap, here are the things you need to do to complete the summer certification program. You need to attend 7 live sessions. You need to complete the accompanying assignments, each that's designed to take only about 20 minutes. and you need to complete the final feedback form to request your certification. And that's it. At that point, welcome to CK-12 Certified Educator status.
So for each session you attend, we've created an accompanying assignment, as Lindsay just mentioned. And this is required to become CK-12 certified. They're only about 20 minutes each and are designed to complement the webinars with steps to explore CK-12, give you a start on customization, and think about next steps. You'll have about a week to complete each of these Google Forms, which we will share in the chat window and each follow-up email.
You're also going to find these assignments on kind of the home base page for our program this summer, and that's at ck12.org/certified2017. Separate from where you guys registered, this page is built to have all of the information about every session that we run. You're going to find office hours, you're going to find FAQs, and you're also going to find an archived webinar section at the bottom where we put up all of the webinars from each of our sessions there for you to watch on demand.
Now, don't forget, you can go to ck12.org/jumpstart to register for any session at any time throughout the program. If any of you out there are joining us today and have not signed up for the full program with 7 sessions, it's not too late to create your own pathway and become CK-12 certified. Similarly, if you missed a session for any reason, you can sign up for a future session on that page.
All right, so let's talk about some of your frequently asked questions. What happens if I have to miss a live session? You can miss one live session, watch the recording, and turn in an assignment and still meet the requirements of this program. How can I cancel a session? The reminder emails that you guys get, you get one 24 hours ahead of the webinar and you get one an hour before. These reminder emails contain a link for you to cancel your registration. So you can do that through the reminder emails, or if you need help with registration or cancellation, email us at jumpstart@ck12.org and we'll help you do that manually from our end. And then one we often get is about professional development credit or continuing education units. You know, can you get those from your district for participating in the program? And the answer is, it depends. Every school, district, country, state has different requirements. So what we do is we provide a certificate documenting the hours for any live webinar session you attended. We have a record of that. You guys are here, so we can provide that documentation for you. And then it's really up to your district how they interpret or honor those hours for professional development credit. But you guys can tell us what you need, and we're happy to provide any documentation.
So that was a lot of information about the program, and we want to emphasize that it's okay not to get certified too. Our intent is to give you professional development, and we don't want the program's requirements to get in the way of your learning. So feel free to register for individual webinars at any time. You can always watch archived webinars on your own schedule. It's your summer and your experience.
So at this point, we're going to launch a poll. You're going to be seeing it on your screen here in just a second. And we want to hear from you. After learning all about CK-12 Certified Educator Program and hearing us describe the pathways, which pathway do you intend to complete this summer? So, do you think that you're working on the content pathway, emphasizing kind of flexbook building? Are you going to work on the intelligent pathway with the adaptive practice components and groups? Custom pathway, you have designed your own experience? Or no pathway? Maybe some of you are still attending individual webinars and haven't fully committed to the program. So it looks like about half of you have responded. We're going to let you pick an answer here. Going to give you guys a few more seconds. Okay, we're going to end the poll and we're going to share the results here. Maybe this is what I would expect, perhaps. I mean, custom creating your own learning experience, that's what CK-12 is all about. With students, with teachers, we want you to customize and do it your way, whatever meets your needs. So I think that makes sense that so many of you have created your own path. Kind of split with content and intelligent. And then those of you who are just attending individual webinars, like we said, welcome. That's awesome. We're happy to have you here for anything that you can attend and get some learning in this summer. So that brings us to, I think, a good place to stop. I don't know if we have any questions in the Q&A window. Katie, are you seeing anything that we should pause and address right now?
I think all of the Q&A has been addressed. As we said earlier, just for the all panelists versus all panelists and attendees, we're working to get that chat up and running so you can introduce yourself to everyone else. It's great to see people from Utah, from Tennessee, from everywhere else, kind of introduce themselves, and and it looks like it may start to be working for people, so hopefully that's still the case. But feel free to introduce yourself there, and then again in that cafe forum that Lindsay mentioned, and that's a great place to introduce yourself to the broader group of people. Today we have a number of people, but we also did this intro session on Monday twice and had hundreds of people join us then as well. And so definitely continue to join that larger community and go from there. I think at this point in time, we're going to move forward. Feel free to kind of put questions from, like actual questions in the Q&A piece, and we'll answer them as we move forward. And then you can continue to introduce yourself in that chat window. So we're going to go into the part about CK-12 now. The CK-12 Foundation was founded in 2007. It's a leading nonprofit organization dedicated to improving student learning by increasing access to educational materials through the Flexbook platform and concept-based modalities.
So what does all of that mean? Well, we at CK-12 believe that every child on this planet should have equal access to great education. We realize all students are unique and each has a different pace of learning, different goals, different strengths, but with limited time and resources, it's a challenge to treat students as individuals and cater to their varied needs. Our philosophy is that learning is a personal journey. The CK-12 Foundation was founded with the mission to enable everyone to learn in his or her own way. We pair high-quality content with the latest technologies. We equip students, teachers, and parents with everything they need for free.
So CK-12 is able to offer its resources for free thanks to the generous funding of a private family foundation. Not only are we a nonprofit, but we are a non-revenue nonprofit. You won't be asked for your credit card information on our site, you won't hit a paywall, and you won't be bombarded with advertisements. Free means free on CK-12.
Although it is offered for free, when you use a CK-12 resource, you can trust that it's the highest quality. CK-12 is used across the world by students, teachers, and districts because it is the best content, not because it is free. We visit schools all the time, ones that aren't bound by any budget constraints, and they still use CK-12 because they know it's what's best for student learning. And our content has been developed by over 100 PhDs, professors, teachers, authors, NASA scientists, and other subject matters and domain experts over the past 10 years. Our content is accessible. We've worked hard to make all of our content available across every platform in both print and digital format. And CK-12's global impact is incredible, with over 15 million active users, and I think that was just last year alone, represented in over 200 countries worldwide.
So these are just a few of the many, many reasons why educators choose CK-12. As part of our 10th anniversary, we've been traveling around the country and seeing how CK-12 is being used as not only a cost-saving solution, but as the best curriculum for today's students. Let me share some of our conversations with these districts in this 2.5-minute video.
Back in the summer of 2014, our superintendent challenged us to find a way to save a lot of money with textbooks. And so the way around the traditional adoption purchase of textbooks in our district was to go the CK-12 route. We're such a large district, when we buy textbooks, they're about $85 each, and when you have to buy 18,000 at a time, it comes out to be between $1.5 and $2 million. If you're not spending that money on textbooks, you can spend it on something else, and that's what we decided to do.
We needed new materials. We had materials that were quite old, and we weren't engaging our kids in science. So we wanted to look for a new way to be able to teach and learn with our students. CK-12 was an obvious choice for us for a couple of different reasons. Number one, we were able to experience some cost savings with it. The content is rich, it's engaging to students, and it's flexible. So it allows us to really tailor the tools to meet the needs of the instruction.
We really have come to see this product come to life in the classroom. Our teachers have really taken this product and incorporated it into their daily instruction. Their students are even creating their own textbooks. So if we have language learners, if we have special education students, or just an individual who is ready to advance for pursuing, the information that's available, online textbook allows us to customize that and allows students, teachers, parents even to explore that.
As we think about customizable content, it's a tool that we use to buy relevance with our kids. In using the CK-12 content, we have the ability to upgrade, update, and customize every math problem, every science experiment with people, places, and things that our students know and understand. We buy relevance that can't be purchased in textbooks.
If you can engage student, you're going to increase learning. And I believe that with the different modalities that CK-12 provides for our students to learn, a student is going to find a component within CK-12 that brings that learning to life for them.
It's been a lot of fun traveling around the country and meeting different users, teachers, administrators, students, and just seeing how they use CK-12. It's always interesting for us to do that. So you're welcome to go to our testimonials page. It's ck12.org/testimonials, or available in the footer on most of our pages. And you'll see hundreds of individual videos like what you're seeing on the screen here. If you want to hear about any certain piece of CK-12, hear from students, read user comments, the testimonials page is a great place to go and check it out.
So like that banner says, CK-12 is trusted worldwide. With users around the world, this map gives you a sense of CK-12's reach, with more users being added each minute. We hope throughout this program, you're able to interact with people in your area who are working toward common goals.
People often wonder how large the workforce is behind our platform, and well, believe it or not, this website is run by a small team of about 35 people in Palo Alto, with a few colleagues working outside of California and in our India office. And of course, dozens of subject matter experts, educators, and editors help us create the highest quality content. We love what we do and are thrilled to give people all over the world access to free, high-quality resources.
Our executive director and co-founder, Neera Khosla, is the one who has made all of this possible the past 10 years. I love this quote on how she says that we don't have to tell you what you can or cannot do. The power of the CK-12 system is that it is usable under any condition. All you have to do is use it. That's our challenge to you. We're going to show you how to use our resources throughout the summer session, but there's no one right way to use our system. You'll find something that will work for you. You just have to get started.
All right, so we're gonna stop again for Q&A. Excited that it looks like our chat is active now. Everybody can see people chiming in about where you're from, what you're teaching. That's awesome. Please keep that conversation going. And then let us know what questions you want us to answer in the Q&A. Katie, why don't you tackle one of the questions here?
Great, so we had a question that has to do with the pathways. I'm gonna start with that one. We asked about kind of customizing Flexbooks in the content pathway or the custom pathway. Those are really just, as we were saying, kind of helpful ways for you to structure what you might want to learn. If you're looking to customize Flexbooks, then I would definitely recommend taking the courses that were in that pathway, but you can add any extra courses on adaptive practice or other pieces there that you want to join. So there's not a particular pathway. It was more a way of, here's some suggested routes that you can take throughout this summer. We also had a great question about mastery-based grading and learning. And there was the question said, do you have info regarding using CK-12 with mastery-based grading learning and standards-based grading? So our adaptive practice system, which is kind of a lot of the courses that you would see in that intelligent pathway or choosing to take them in the custom pathway, are all about our system, and which is intelligent. It adjusts to student learning, and it really is set up based on this idea of mastering a concept. So it will recommend kind of support for students to understand. They can watch a video, read a passage to gain that understanding and then do more practice. Or if they're doing well, it will give them harder questions. So that actually I would highly recommend, if you're looking at that piece, to kind of incorporate that, and definitely sign up for our Groups in Practice 101. We're offering that this afternoon, and then again later this summer.
Okay, a question just came in about putting up a link for rewatching the webinars. And yes, so we aim for kind of a 24-hour transition period. After this webinar, we need to download the video, get it up onto YouTube, and then get it up onto our webpage. So within 24 hours, we're going to make those changes, get the recorded session on YouTube, and then you're going to receive an email that's a follow-up from every session that you attend that's going to have a link to where you can watch that video, a link to your assignments, a link to our homepage. But all of that is found at www.ck12.org/certified 2017. And I think our colleague Star just put that in the chat window. And if you go to that link, you'll see that it's kind of buried at the bottom right now. We're going to work on making that a bigger presence, but there's an archived webinars tab that's expandable at the bottom of that page where you could view webinars from the past couple of days.
So we had a couple more questions that have to do with kind of adaptive practice and where you can access it. One is CK-12 work with the Schoology format? And yes, we are integrated with Schoology and Canvas and Edmodo, and shortly Practice will work with Google Classroom as well. So we're doing an entire learning management system webinar, I believe tomorrow afternoon. So if you come join us for that, you can learn all about that integration with Schoology. And then another piece of that was asking about the subject areas that are available within our adaptive practice. So CK-12 started as primarily middle school, high school STEM content. So you'll find a core component of math and science questions in there. We expanded to some elementary math questions within there. And then there's also some spelling practice in there as well. However, our system, as we said, is customizable. So you can use that adaptive practice platform. And while you can't necessarily get the same adaptive component, you can create quizzes with your own questions in there and really build anything that you want in terms of assessing your students and asking them questions.
Katie, did you tell them how many practice questions we have?
We have over 150,000 practice questions in our database. So you can work off of those. You can take them kind of within that adaptive practice component that really works on mastery, or you can pick and choose yours and put them in what we call a quiz. And that will allow you to kind of pick from our database and narrow down the options that your students can work with.
All right, we're going to keep the presentation rolling. You guys keep asking Q&A questions as you have them. We'll stop again here in a few minutes. But we just talked to you about our team and our users and our mission. And all of this didn't happen overnight. Like we said, CK-12 was founded in 2007, so we've been celebrating our 10 years all year long, and that's a big accomplishment itself. But oh, I'm sorry. Okay, hopefully everybody's hearing me. Anyway, what was I saying? 10 years. We've been going for 10 years, and in education technology, that's especially huge. There's a lot of kind of startups get going and fall out of the landscape. CK-12 has been that consistent. It was in 2008 when our Flexbooks launched with fully customizable math and science textbooks, free for the world to download or view online. In 2010, CK-12 added teacher editions that offered extensions like workbooks, quizzes, and tests with corresponding answer keys. And then in 2011, our concept collections were introduced. Unlike our original Flex books that offer more of like a full lesson plan and follow a structure of what you'd find in a more traditional textbook, these concept collections deconstruct the books into bite-sized chunks of information, similar to how teachers want to teach and students want to learn.
In 2012, we continued to break our content down into these individual concepts and present them in multiple modalities to fit different learning styles, allowing all students to learn their way and on any device, since that was also the year when CK-12 became available on desktops, tablets, and mobile phones. To encourage discussion and collaboration, classes and study groups were created in 2013. This allows students to share CK-12 resources and for teachers to create class assignments. The latest, greatest initiative from CK-12 is to continue to develop personalized learning experiences through our simulations and PLIX interactives, as well as our intelligent adaptive practice system that, as we said earlier, offers over 150,000 math, science, and spelling practice questions.
So we just told you that we took Flexbooks and broke them down into bite-sized concepts. And what you're seeing here, circular motion, this is an example of one of these bite-sized concepts. Like when a student might go to Google and search for circular motion, they can do the same thing on CK-12 and arrive at a concept page with content that has been curated and vetted by us. This is where students can really learn their way through these different modalities, such as simulations and study guides. Unlike when students are learning through a printed text where all they can do is read, CK-12 concepts come to life with interactive content. These days, students no longer look through a table of contents. They don't want to look things up in an index. They want to use a search bar and have a choice in how they learn any concept. Also, what a great tool for students who want to get ahead or those who need different information or options to learn a concept. This page truly differentiates learning.
As you saw, there are a number of different ways to learn any concept on CK-12. We enrich every concept with modalities to help meet students' needs in the best way possible. Our core modalities include text, simulations, our interactive PLIX, videos, practice, and even real-world applications. You're going to learn more about these different types of modalities throughout all of our summer sessions. So let's see what you all are using. Please take a few seconds to answer this poll.
Hang on, Katie, let me see if we can get the poll up. Okay, here it is. We're launching the poll.
Great. So this poll asks, which of these modalities are you using in your classroom? The read, simulations, PLIX, videos, assessment, real-world application, or maybe you're new to CK-12 and not using any of the above in your class as of now. So we'll give you a minute or so to kind of answer that so we can see what people are using as we go from there.
Okay, I'm watching the results come in. Looks like about 2/3 of you have submitted answers. Give you another few seconds. And if you're reading this going, what in the heck is a PLIX and what do you mean by read? That's fine too. We're gonna explain all of that throughout the summer. So just answer what you know here. Okay.
So someone said it looks like you might not be able to choose more than one. If that's the case, I apologize that it was set up as multiple choice and not an select all. So maybe pick the one that you're using the most in your class at this point in time.
All right, so here are some results. I guess this might not truly be reflective of what you guys were trying to submit if you couldn't choose all that apply, but the number that's interesting to me here is the number of people who said none of the above. And I actually, that kind of excites me because I think you guys are here in this introductory session to learn about us and to figure out what all these things are and how you could use them to supplement your classroom curriculum or to kind of reinvent a whole different curriculum with our system, possibly with our Flexbooks or with our concept-based learning. So this is exciting to see. Continuing on here, so these concepts are all connected, and one of our cool newer features is our concept map. And our platform allows teachers and students to choose their own pathway of teaching and learning. And then we also provide tools like this concept map that shows how the concepts relate to one another, even across disciplines. So you're going to see links to the concept map across our site. And when you do this, take a couple of minutes and explore how these concepts all connect.
Great, so I think we're going to stop there. We have some questions in our Q&A window, and we're going to kind of talk about what that looks like. So one of the questions asked about state strands, benchmarks, or nationally based standards. And in, excuse me, in a couple of minutes, I'm going to do a live demo of the site as a whole and walk you through where you can find that standards alignment. States are continually updating their standards, and so that's a case where I would recommend kind of customizing and continually updating to match the newest updates for any particular state. But you'll still see kind of the general standards across the country and then the original alignment for any particular states as we worked our way through. Similarly, we had a question about AP Physics and that adaptable curriculum in CK-12. So CK-12 doesn't currently have any books that we created that are specifically targeted for AP. So in that regard, I would say check out the work and that the users have created, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute live. So definitely look at those options and see what other users may have customized to address specifically AP standards. And then we had a question on statistics textbooks. Once again, I'm going to show you the difference between our concept books and our original flex books when we go into that live demo in a minute. So just hold that thought for a second.
Another question is asking about how our adaptive system works. We've got sessions on that this summer, so hopefully you'll consider attending. But in general, a teacher can assign a student a concept for practice, or a student could arrive at it on their own on our site or on one of our apps. And the beauty to our system is that as a student progresses through answering questions, our system is going to adjust for how the student is doing. So if a student is missing several questions in a row, our adaptive practice system is going to kind of bump them back to maybe some of the easier questions. We do have questions that are labeled easy, medium, and hard. So students who are advancing at a very good pace, questions are going to get harder. Students who need extra work, it's going to go back and adjust the questions accordingly. But also the amazing thing about our adaptive practice system is that you're going to get in the moment suggestions. Our system is going to serve up concept suggestions for students who are struggling, and it's going to give them different ways to learn that concept to fill in those gaps to be more successful with the adaptive practice system.
Great, so we have a couple other questions that have come up in terms of identifying mastery specific to a standard. And so I think we're going to hold off on some of these questions because we're about to do a demo of navigating our site, and I can probably answer a lot of them in the course of that demo. So maybe we'll just switch over to that. So let me go and share my screen, and we can walk our way through some of these pieces, and I think that will answer a lot of your questions once you get to see how our site works. So the first part about this is the idea of signing in. So if you've never logged into CK-12 before, you're going to want to click this join button up at the top. And you notice you can sign in with a Google account, Facebook, Twitter, or Microsoft, or you can sign up with your own email address if you want to set up something specific to CK-12. The one thing you're going to want to do is that whatever account or way that you use to sign in, you're going to want to stick with that. So don't use your personal account for some stuff and your teacher account for another one, because you want to make sure everything is housed in the same place on CK-12. So I already have an account, so I'm going to click sign in, and I'm logged into my Gmail account. So I'm just going to sign in with Google, and that will take me to my dashboard. Now, if you're here on your dashboard and you've already created an account and you've picked subject areas or made groups here, you can see a couple different options: recently viewed, trending, all sorts of different pieces. At the top, you'll see your dashboard option, groups, which we'll talk about more in groups and practice sessions, your library where all of your customized content is housed, that cafe that we spoke about, so that's a great place to introduce yourselves and ask questions, and then you can browse our content. But what I also love is that your CK-12 logo will always take you back to our homepage. So this will take you to kind of that starting place on what we're working off of. And if you're on the homepage, there's 2 extra options for teachers. This is your standards browser. So Common Core Math and Next Generation Science. And if you look at one of these right here, and then let's say I'm teaching an algebra class, this is a particular topic that relates to that standard. And so if you're looking to do kind of mastery specific to a standard for Common Core or Next Generation Science, then I'd recommend using that browser and then clicking on the associated topic, and that will, any practice associated with that should address that standard. So if we go back again to that homepage, we can kind of talk about different ways to navigate. So the first option is to search. So let's see, we had a question about physics. So I could search for physics, and you'll see kind of general physics options, different particular pieces there. I can break down my search and filter it by the type of modality that we've been talking about, and we'll show you those in a second as well. And then I can filter by grades. And this is a place where someone asked about kind of AP physics. We don't have anything, as we said, specifically for AP, but if you wanted to search for that, you could always click on this community contributed tab and then filter by flexbooks. And it looks like there are 2,000 variations of physics flexbooks on our site. And you could even search for AP physics there if you wanted to narrow it down. And you could see what customized content has been republished on our site that specifically addresses that area. So that's a particular option. If we did circular motion, oops, let's try putting that entire thing. Oh, even better, it popped up first. So circular motion, that's a concept page. So this is that area that Lindsay was showing earlier, kind of as a screen. And these are the different types of modalities that we talked about. So the reads are really your textbook pages. Videos, I'm sure you guys have all seen videos related to topics. Our practice is that adaptive practice component that adjusts accordingly. For physics and chemistry right now, we have interactive simulations, and we're going to do an entire workshop on those. So right now we're just kind of giving you here's all the stuff you should check out and start exploring, but definitely go ahead and explore those. And then our PLIX is our other interactive. It stands for play, learn, interact, and explore. And in this case, it allows students kind of to manipulate a little environment as they're working their way through. So that's your different types of modalities and your options for searching both within CK-12 and community content. Now, if I go back to the homepage, I can scroll down, or I could have clicked on that browse option if I just wanted to get to kind of my subject areas. Above that, you'll see browse specifically for simulations, PLIX, and adaptive practice. And then this schools icon is super helpful for standards alignment and for just seeing who else near you is doing any work. So in this case, it brought me to California. The other day, we had someone from a district down in Texas. So if I went down to there, I could see the schools in that area or in that state that have republished content on our site. And this is a case where, as those state standards are continually being updated, you may want to choose to start with books that someone near you has already customized and aligned even closer to the newest standards. So this would be a great place. And here you can find both customized content for math and science that they started with from CK-12 content, as well as other content for other areas. So we had a question about social studies somewhere in here. You'll see government content, geography content. I think there's some ELA books in here somewhere. I think I might have passed it. Here's an English one, an English 2 book. So if you're looking for content outside of our core STEM CK-12 content, then I would recommend exploring that schools page and exploring the community contributed tab in search. So, and that also, we had one more question that had to do with integrated pieces. So CK-12's books are currently not, if you were asking about kind of the integrated math pathway or book alignments, then I would definitely check out community contributed, because I know that there are some schools that have started to kind of mix and match our pieces and make integrated content. Now, if we go down to a particular area, you can see the subjects that I demo a lot that I claimed were my subjects. But if I expand that to show all of them, you can see our math and videos and practice for elementary, science, reads as we work our way through. And if I pick a particular branch, I can go into that. And actually, you know what? Let's show you the Flexbooks tab first, because these are all of our concept pages. But if we go into the Flexbooks tab, this is the difference between these books. So we have books here for middle school as well as for high school. You can kind of scroll down and see books in Spanish that are available there. You could search for levels for basic, at grade, or advanced. And this is something that I want to go through for a second. We have an Algebra 1 Concepts book and an Algebra 1 Second Edition, as well as Algebra Basic and Algebra Honors. We had a question similar to this related to prob and stats. And there's really a couple different variations of our textbooks in order to allow for what might be most appropriate for you and your students, and maybe even multiple ones within a class. So if you're looking for a student that needs more challenge, that's, you know, kind of already got the basics done, then check out the honors one. If you're looking for something that students need a little bit more basic piece and a little bit more support as they're working their way through, check out our basic books if those are available. And then the biggest difference that you're going to want to know in CK-12 is this idea of concepts. So if I opened the Algebra 1 Second Edition book, and I opened a chapter in here, you'll see this chapter has 8 sections within it. So variable expressions, order of operations, etc. If I opened that same book, go back one, to our Flexbooks, and I opened the matching concept collection, so Algebra 1 Concepts, and that particular chapter, you'll see that there are 17 different sections. And so what we did was we took our original Flexbooks, which are kind of like your traditional book that any lesson has multiple concepts in them, and we broke them down into what we call our concepts. And those are the concepts like circular motion that we showed earlier, and we really support it at that lower level because we think that students might struggle with one of those skills but not all of them, and so we wanted to kind of tie all of our content in at that bite-sized chunk instead of a broader topic.
Katie, let me pause you there for a second. We have several questions that just came through on the Q&A about the difference between student logins and teacher logins, and then also, you know, how this integrates with different student email accounts and options that teachers have for easy sign-in. So maybe, do you want to go back to kind of that difference between students and teachers, and even from the sign-in level?
Sure. So if you're signing in, you know, when you first join, you actually, I'm going to pull up my piece right here. So if I look at my settings, I'm logged in as a teacher, so I can change my profile. Here it says I'm a teacher in somewhere, some state. Maybe I'll update that one of these days. And I picked kind of my topics and areas that I'm working off of, so that those are what are showing up on my dashboard. If I had joined as a student, there's a couple differences between the teacher and student account. The one thing you should know is that for our books, we really try to make answers for the books that we publish accessible, because we have users across the world, some students that are being homeschooled, others that are learning on their own, others that are learning within more of a traditional classroom. And we didn't want to hinder their learning by blocking those areas. So if you're worried about that piece, then we recommend that you really assign that adaptive practice component, because that digital component allows for students to kind of access the questions and work their way through before they can see those answers. But the actual book and text that we're working off of, we wanted to allow that to be possible. The two kind of major pieces have to do with the homepage at this point in time. So as a teacher, this is what your homepage looks like. It has that standards browser up at the top for Common Core Math and Next Generation Science. or you can see if any kind of standards are aligned for a particular state. So I could say California. In this one, we have alignment for California across kind of math and science options. So I could pick a topic, calculus, grade 12, and then it would pop up some, a calc book and a pre-calc book that has kind of that intro to calc section in it. So there's options there. And then on the student page, so let me switch over for a second to my student one. Hold on one second. So in terms of, we got a question while I'm switching over that had to do with printing. So, we are a website, so you could always print that page as you're working your way through. We also have different applications, and I'll show you the tools and apps in a second to kind of talk about offline options as you're working your way through. So I think you guys can see the student account now. And the biggest difference on the main page is that instead of standards, they could explore schools there, but we really thought that the study guides kind of in preparation for tests would be the most helpful. If we go into a book itself, so if I actually go to algebra and into that same algebra concepts book that we were just looking at, this is kind of one of the coolest new features for high school that we just launched for students. We're really testing this out, so you'll start seeing this across CK-12. But right now it's available in our concept collection books. And so for students that are accessing this book and they're not accessing it on that concept page, and so they might not see that practice right off the bat, we wanted to start making that adaptive practice component available to them right in the moment when they're learning. So definitely check that out kind of as a student and see that piece. For teachers, you would just see a preview option up here, kind of next to the details option for practice, and then a bright orange button above it. And then if you're kind of exploring back to here, you'll be able to see other resources, and any of these, if you bump into kind of that other resource, it will take you to the matching concept page and you can see those options. If I go back to that book for a second, one of those printed options, so if we go into the concepts page, we have this offline reader, and that was just launched. So we have kind of apps for different options in terms of practice and flexbooks and sims, but we just launched this offline reader to allow students to access that content offline as well.
All right, Katie, so what do you have to say? A couple people in the chat are talking about how they're unable to print books. They're disappointed. They used to be able to print books. Very sad. I want to encourage them that they're always able to email support if they're having any trouble with the printed books. Or the customized content, usually there is a print option. Is that correct?
Yes, so we wanted to still make it available to you guys. If you guys are working on your customized content, you're making your own books, we wanted to make those available. So you can kind of work off of that as you go through, or contact us if you're having trouble accessing content in a different format. But kind of the disadvantage for printing in some regards is that idea of, once you print it, then it's stuck, whereas we continually try to update, we continually try to include that interactive pieces. You want to be able to access those other modalities. So that offline reader, you can really sync. If you click on this, you can open a book, and we're going to allow them to store files because I want to actually access it offline. And you'll be able to, I could download the entire book, or I could download chapters as I worked my way through. If I looked kind of down at the bottom here, the tools and apps, this is a great option as well. So that offline reader works for Chrome, so that if a student has a laptop or a desktop and they have intermittent internet access, they could do that. We also have the Flexbook online and offline access app for both iOS and Android. And you can download that, and it works the same way as the offline reader so that students can access content there. We also have various other apps, our Sims app, which allows for offline access of our simulations, which is great if you want a bunch of people to all access the sim at the same time in a class and you're worried about bandwidth. And then the practice app allows students to do practice on their phone or their tablet, which is great if they're on their way to a game and want to get some of their homework done. And then below that, you'll see kind of our integration with Google Classroom, Edmodo, Schoology, Canvas, and so on.
All right, let's take one more question here that's sitting in the Q&A queue. It's about how relevant are your contents to non-American schools and learners? How US-centric are we versus these 200 other countries around the world who are using us?
So, I mean, I would say if you're using our standards alignment browsers, then they are aligned to Common Core and next generation science standards. The Common Core, is clearly US centric. But as you've seen, we have users across the world using stuff. We do have, if you're in India, we do have kind of some books that were designed specifically for that. And we're actually working with groups from around the world to talk to them about different options if they're interested in using CK-12 within their own country. So if there's alignment for your country that you're looking for, then definitely contact us and we will kind of see what we can do to make that work for you. The other piece, if I went back to that book for a second, that is super helpful is that we've actually, because we're a digital platform, which is wonderful, we can embed other pieces. And so this is Google's option for languages. And so you could always translate that page into one of their options for languages. And so that might be a great way for you to see some of that content and access it in another country as well.
Okay, we're going to stop there for a moment just to be conscious of time. Keep the questions coming. We're going to stay on and answer any question that you guys might have. But I want to go ahead and give you a few more kind of wrap-up program information pieces that you guys are going to need. So I'm sharing my screen again here. Okay, so we mentioned assignments earlier, and that every session that you guys attend is going to have an assignment that comes with it. And so if you are here to get CK-12 certification, it is an expectation that you guys complete an assignment. We ask for you to do that within about a week of the webinar. And that's really to keep it relevant and fresh as you're progressing through this program. So here is a tiny URL that's going to be put in the chat window. You guys might want to write it down right now, or remember that this is always going to be found on our landing page for our summer program. But we use tiny URLs to shorten all of our links. So it's www.tinyurl.com and then CEP 17 intro. So that's Certified Educator Program 17 intro. And you're going to see on this assignment that we're asking you to complete work in in 3 sections. The first one's going to ask you about your learning goals this summer and what skills or resources you're hoping to create with CK-12. The second is going to help you explore our concepts and get a little more familiar with what we're calling modalities and what resources we have available to meet your needs. And then the third section asks you to join the CK-12 Jumpstart for Educators Cafe and begin interacting with hundreds of program participants. So you've got that link. You'll find it on our Certified 2017 page, and it'll be emailed out to you in that 24 hours later email that you'll get tomorrow. So I did want to promote a couple of upcoming sessions. This afternoon, we're doing our first Groups in Practice 101 session of the summer. So join this if you want to see how you get started with our adaptive practice system and how you get those in the hands of students. We'll be offering this session twice this summer. Tomorrow we have CK-12 simulations and PLIX interactives, showing you, these interactives that we've created to really bring student learning to life. That's tomorrow morning. All of our times are at Pacific time. That's 9 a.m. Pacific. And then in the afternoon, we're going to be talking about learning management systems. I know we had a couple of questions in Q&A today about our integration with learning management systems. And this is a great place to find out more about that. We are going to offer it twice this summer as well. And you can register for any of those if you're not already registered at our Jumpstart registration page. So throughout the summer, this is a new program and we're on day 3 of it. And we love getting your feedback. So this tiny URL is going to be the same for every webinar that you attend. It's not required for you to complete it, but we would love your feedback. So if you have the time, there's a couple of questions here. Tell us what went well today. Tell us what we could be doing better. We read those, we take your feedback to heart, and we continually try to make improvements with our program. So at that point, I'm going to thank you and encourage you to, our Twitter has some awesome activity happening the past couple of days. Facebook, you can @CK12 Foundation or #CK12 Foundation and share your participate in this program with others. So for those of you who need to sign out here at the hour mark, goodbye, you're welcome to head out. Everybody else, stay on. If you have more questions or you want to hear the Q&A, we're going to answer questions until we're finished here. So let me kick it back over to Katie.
Great, thanks, Lindsay. So we had a couple questions about the program, so let me start with those ones. If you go to our registration page, oh, sorry, I should probably share my screen so you can actually see that page. And from here, ck12.org/jumpstart, which will reroute you to this page. There's plenty of options to register for programs within the pathway if you want to take a full pathway, or you can click on this register for individual sessions. You can add any session that you want to add from this point. So go ahead and do that. I know we've had a lot of people say, I want to take them all. We encourage you to do so. You can learn all about CK-12, so feel free to do that. For each session that you register for, you should get a unique email with a login link. So if you're looking for which ones you registered for, go check your email inbox on the day that you registered and make sure you have all of your sessions and they're all at the times that you thought that they would be. If you have any questions about that or you want me to check your webinar registration from the back end, just email jumpstart@ck12.org and I can double check your schedule and send that to you. But kind of the first step would be to make sure that none of your emails got caught in your spam filter and that they're all in one place and you have all of your registration login links. So definitely do that and make sure, the times and dates you selected, you got a confirmation for the one that you thought you selected as you worked your way through. The other questions that we've had to do with integration. So as Lindsay said, we're doing a webinar tomorrow afternoon on learning management systems. So if you are using Schoology, Canvas, Edmodo, or Google Classroom, definitely join us for that. The other piece, if we're going on here for any particular read, so let's say if I was in a chemistry book or even the chemistry branch, this green SharePlane has the option to share via email, share via social media, and share directly to Google Classroom. We are updating that integration. So we did our Google Classroom integration before their system allowed for grade passback, and we are adding that in so that if you assign work within Google Classroom, that you will shortly be able to see students' work within that as well. So that's a piece on kind of the integration and the easy way to get stuff to the Google Classroom piece. We had a question as well about why becoming CK-12 certified is important. I think that's really a decision on your part. We are offering this program so that you have a clean understanding of all the different components. We find that when we work with schools, the biggest comment is, how come I didn't know about CK-12 beforehand? Or I didn't realize CK-12 had all of this other stuff. And so that certified piece is really your ability to say, I understand what CK-12 offers. I understand how to use it. It's kind of like becoming a Google certified educator or something like that, where you can show others in, working with them what that looks like, and that you could then maybe even explain CK-12 to your other colleagues or run a training or something like that. And if you're interested in that extra step, then join us for those last sessions as we talk about them kind of later on.
Okay, a couple other questions. Somebody asking about the archived videos. And again, yes, we record all these sessions and it may take us a day to get it in the archived section of our website, but we will have them available for you to view later on. Another question is there a session that talks specifically about how others actually use CK-12 with their students? Yes, we think that's an important piece of this. And you're going to hear different examples. And again, we're showing a lot of these video clips in all of our sessions, but we have a session called Using Flexbooks with Students. And then we also have a session called Using Practice in Groups with Students. And so both of these Using with Students sessions are designed by one of our coworkers who was a teacher, and they're heavy on teaching strategies of, now that you know how to use a Flexbook, now that you know how to use practice in groups, so what? What does that actually look like in your classroom in the moment with students? How does this work with in-class activities, out-of-class activities? So you can attend either of those sessions. They're run, I think, each twice this summer. They start next week, but it's the one called Using Flexbooks with Students and Using Practice in Groups with Students.
Great. So I'm just going to show you a link to that Certified 2017 page. If I type that into my URL and I jump over to that, I know Lindsay mentioned it. This is where you'll see about CK-12, about the program. This is your chance to sign up for office hours. Those times are starting to go. So definitely check that out if you want to see those pieces. And then if you go down here, you can also see the information. So any of your pre-existing pieces, here's your times offered. We post the webinar assignment. They usually go up before the first session of any webinar. So right now we've done a couple of these already. The Maximizing Learning with CK-12, we haven't offered at all, so it just has the times offered, and we'll post the assignment right before we start that particular piece. And then if you scroll down, this section will probably be updated shortly, but right now you can see archived webinars here. So these are the 4 sessions that we did yesterday and the day before, and you can click on those links and watch the video accordingly. So that's one place to go from there. And let's see what other questions we have. We have one that says, if I currently use Schoology and wish to move to Google Classroom, will my kids' accounts easily transition with me? That is a good question, and that has more to do with Schoology and Google Classroom than it does with CK-12. So I don't know what Schoology is storing within that piece, or what Google Classroom is storing from their end, or how easy it is to move that integration. If you're using an email account that is like a Google email through one of those, all of our content is tied to that email address. So I would definitely say if the students are using the same email address, they should be able to see the content based on that email address. But in terms of kind of integrating between them and all of their backend and all those pieces, we can try to get an answer for you on that before our learning management system webinar. But from this end, I'm not sure what that looks like kind of on their end.
All right, our Q&A is empty at the moment. We'll do a last call for any questions before we sign off. I'm doing that teacher wait time thing. Okay, thank you all for joining us today. We are going to sign off and we will see you later. Thank you.